Hi guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and welcome to another episode of High Heel Hallelujah. I am talking about love and marriage and a few other things, but first, let's look at the shoes. These gorgeous shoes came from my husband for Christmas. I realized I had not done a high heel hallelujah in these shoes. And I think what ended up happening is I got them for Christmas and then I went straight into my habits videos and I had like a certain theme going on. So I was like, hey, wait a second, I never featured these shoes yet, but I have been wearing them and they are Louboutin. And so, oh gosh. Okay, so the Louboutin, the classic red there, you can see I've been wearing them. And I love these. I think you all know that I have another pair of sort of this checkered type of pattern. So it always looks like a picnic to me. And so I think they're beautiful. Are they easy to walk in? Not as much as you would think. I think the reason is that this portion of the shoe is so narrow, and so you kind of are a little teetering in these. So I can wear them, but I would not wear them on unstable ground. So I have this funny thing when we visit Vegas. I believe it's Caesar's Palace when you go through kind of near where the gondolas are. The ground is very unstable because of the type of tile they used. And these shoes would probably cause me to get a sprained ankle on that kind of tile because it's a bit precarious. So of course I'm always wearing heels, so my family has to slow down to a crawl when we walk through that area. Let me know if you know what area I'm talking about. I'm sure there's probably a name for it, but it's in the shop area. Anyway, we are going to talk, but these are the shoes and they do tie in to my message. I've been encouraged by people to talk about real life and to really be more out there as far as various things that I go through. And I think that's what I usually link with other people regarding as well, in that sense of maybe their willingness to be honest or humble about, what goes on in their life. And I was thinking about that today and how it is so interesting, the things that people portray on social media or even just in life, the things that we don't talk about, the things that we keep hidden, the struggles that we have, and whether we share with other people or not, sometimes those things could really be helpful to someone else if we're willing to share them. I have been with my husband for 23 years, and we've been married for 20. And we definitely hit it off in the beginning. We have a lot in common. We have a lot of things that are different as well. He was really the first person that when I started spending time with him, I didn't get tired of hanging out with him. It was kind of like, maybe because he always gave me my space and he was not too hovering or something, I don't know. But we just had a lot in common and he's really supportive of me. But with anybody, as you know them for long periods of time, we all see each other's faults or imperfections or the things that can get difficult, right? So for many years, when we would come up to some sort of argument, my way of handling things is to first look at myself and say, wait a second, how did I contribute to this? And I'm not sure exactly why I default to that. And I know that's not necessarily a bad thing to do, But what it ends up doing in a lot of cases is I talk and talk and talk, trying to solve this problem. And that can be good, but to a certain extent, I think it also can be detrimental, especially if the other person still needs time to process or whatever. And I'm the type of person, I don't want the sun to go down on my anger. I always want to come up with a resolution. I don't necessarily have to have complete agreement, but I want there to be an understanding or the willingness to agree to disagree. And so I will tend to talk and talk and talk through things. And sometimes, and most of the time, my husband is the type that steps away from things and even will act like everything is fine, which that would frustrate me even more because I'm like, everything is clearly not fine. I'm not fine, but to act like you're fine. But it was his way of processing through things. And so, whenever we would come into these disagreements, I would end up being frustrated. I'm sure he was frustrated. And so, it seemed like we would just go round and round. And, you go through a period of time where things you don't really have as much to argue about, or things are not really coming to the surface. And then, before you know it, you're back to this again. And it's like, how many times do we keep doing this same thing over and over again, right? So a few years back, I was really praying about, and this is around the time that I really started to get more in tune with praying and then actually listening to, and not just kind of going through the motions or going to church or whatever. It was a lot more of what I would call a meditative type time, where I really was letting things process differently within me. And during that time, I really got a very clear message to be still during those times when there was an argument. And I would get very, not silent, I was still present and I would say some things, but I would spend more time listening. And also in my head, I was like, okay, Holy Spirit, you're gonna have to take over because I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to keep doing the same dumb thing over and over that has not worked. So I'm gonna sit here and just wait for you. And initially, my husband was, I think, a little bit confused, and he was like, "Wait, what are you thinking?" And it kind of threw him off a little bit. And I always kind of equate this to when you know somebody for a long period of time, you probably do a certain type of dance with them, right? So maybe for all these years I've been doing the waltz with my husband. He understands what to do, how to react, and the kind of way that we flow together. Maybe it's not the most productive or whatever, but if one person decides to change the dance and start doing the tango and the other person's still doing the waltz, things get a little messy for a while. And so I think I was starting to do the tango. He was still trying to waltz, and there was like, wait, what is happening here? You changed the music on me. And so at the time, it really didn't take that long because thankfully my husband also has a really good heart for listening, and he also he really does think the best about me or assume the best. And so we kind of worked through that fairly quickly, but I noticed that each time we would come up to another time that we would be disagreeing about something, I had to consciously decide that I was going to approach the situation differently. And it really made a huge impact. But there was a time that came when his reaction was still something that it was really hard for me to deal with. And we had kind of had the same recurring issue so many times. And I would always pray, God, let me be different next time. Let me figure this out because I do not know how to fix this problem. And so one day we were up against the same thing again, and it will always make me super anxious because I don't like to upset people and I don't like them to be upset with me. And so I was like really feeling like I was at the end of my rope. I did not know what to do. And I was, rather than trying to text people I know or ask questions from other people or something, I decided I'm just going to sit and pray. And I was reading my Bible and stuff. And all of a sudden, I got this glimpse of my husband when he was a small child. And I didn't know him back then, but I know the history of his life. And I got a kind of like a little vision of what he went through, how his reactions to things took root, and why he still reacts that way to this day. And that it's something that he just carried with him, kind of a coping mechanism or just his way of handling situations that come up for him in life. And so all of a sudden I had this completely different view of him, and I felt like I was looking at him like, even though he was an adult, I was seeing him as a child that was just doing the best he could. I'm actually going to come to tears because it's weird how I will see that in other people. I've always sort of been that way, but because the reactions that I would have with my husband over years became so repetitive, I wasn't really giving him the same, leeway that I would give other people. But all of a sudden, I saw him through completely different eyes. And when we went to resolve this issue, I could just tell that my love was so different in the way that I talked to him. And it broke down that wall faster than anything I could ever imagine. And ever since that time, if his same reaction flares up, I immediately have that sense about him as a child, and this is why he reacts this way, and I can talk to him through a really more loving and compassionate, empathetic type of way. And the reason that I think that this is so critical to not only take into our relationships with other people, whether it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, friend, other people in the world, is because this is how God is with us. He looks at us with these loving eyes that knows us. He knows why we do things that we do, why we have reacted to things the way that we have, and he loves us so much. He is not pointing a finger and blaming and making us feel rotten. He is saying, I know, I've been there all along. I know why you feel that way, and I'm here to love you no matter what. And he even went to the point of creating us with certain dispositions and with certain personalities, and he can use those for good purposes. So, sometimes we fight so hard against ourselves for certain things, and yet he designed us. He knows what certain combination he wanted in you. And he looks at you with so much love for the creation that you are. And that's why I love this book, Song of Solomon or Song of Songs. And in the Passion Translation, I've been reading to you all from this before, but it really hits you in a totally different way. This is basically written from the standpoint of Jesus speaking to his bride, and we are his beloved, okay? And so when you read through this book, especially from the viewpoint of the Passion Translation, it is so, like, you almost think this is too good to be true, but it's not. I'm going to read a little bit here I'm in the second chapter right now. Yes, you are my darling companion. You stand out from all the rest. For though the curse of sin surrounds you, still you remain as pure as a lily, even more than all the others. I'm going to skip ahead. Suddenly, this is the bride speaking back to him. Suddenly he transported me into his house of wine. He looked upon me with his unrelenting love divine. And then I'm going to jump ahead here to, let's see, chapter 4. Listen, my beautiful, listen, my dearest darling. You are so beautiful. You are beauty itself to me. Your eyes glisten with love, like gentle doves behind your veil. What devotion I see each time I gaze upon you. You are like a sacrifice ready to be offered. When I look at you, I see how you have taken my fruit and tasted my word. Your life has become clean and pure, like a lamb washed and newly shorn. You now show grace and balance with truth on display. I could just go on and on. Here's the bride speaking back again. For you reach into my heart. No, actually, this is Jesus speaking to us. For you reach into my heart. With one flash of your eyes, I am undone by your love. My beloved, my equal, my bride. You leave me breathless. I am overcome by merely a glance from your worshiping eyes, for you have stolen my heart. I am held hostage by your love and by the graces of righteousness shining upon you. How satisfying to me, my equal, my bride. For I find the promised land flowing within you. I'm sorry. This always blows my mind because I grew up in the church, but it was always a disconnected thing. And when you hear how he loves you, it's overwhelming. For him to say that he is left breathless by you and that he's overcome by your eyes on him, I just can't imagine anything better to know that the perfect one looks at the imperfect one and sees that. And that is what I think is so critical for you to take to your heart, is that just like our relationships with other people, when we look at them through a different set of eyes and we can show love and see them through love, and that those eyes are just different, I think it's just a tiny glimpse of how God sees us. And I don't think we can fully grasp it, but for me, this metaphor of a husband and his wife is very similar to Jesus with his bride, and we're all considered the bride. The reason I picked these shoes, not only because my sweet husband adores me and gives me all these beautiful shoes and then just blesses me with them, but because of the whole idea of the picnic. It's like he lays out this beautiful spread for the Lord, lays out this beautiful spread for us, and just wants us to sit with him and just enjoy his presence. And we just so botch it up all the time. We think we have to be a certain way, act a certain way. We have to do certain things in order to sit at that picnic with him. And we don't. He just wants us to come. And I just really hope that you think about that, because if you feel like there's anything missing in your life, or you feel like you don't understand that kind of love, don't run away from it. Don't be afraid of it, and don't try to explain it. I think that you just have to take the steps forward. Sit at the picnic, just listen, see what he has to say to you. And if you need extra help or prayers or conversation, I would love to talk to you about it. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do love this whole topic, as you clearly know. And I've been really blessed to have a circle of people, some that really understand the message because they're already people that believe the same thing as me, but I also have a circle here of people that don't believe what I believe, but so support what I talk about or what I say or who I'm trying to be here in this realm. And so I just really think it's a neat place to be able to talk about what we think and not get all personal and try to put up our own defenses and wall that we've always gone back to. So I hope that, you think about that and, not necessarily take offense to the things that I talk about, but they maybe just listen and then have a conversation. I would love to hear from you. So I will take a little walk in these shoes, but until the next time, I hope that you live today on fire. All right, here's a walk in the shoes, and not too hard to walk on this floor, but yeah, unstable floors, avoid at all costs. But they are beautiful shoes. I love them. I plan on wearing them a lot, especially this summer. All right, have a beautiful day. I will see you next time.